Are we recording? Yes. Great! Great! Great Scott! Who the fuck is Scott? That's one of my favorite jokes. Anyway, hi, hello. How are you today? I hope you're well. Couple things. We're in a new locale. We're in front of my desk, and I've always wanted to film in front of my desk because I think that, like, this whole thing is very visually interesting, but I've always been like, this angle at this part of my apartment's really cramped. How am I gonna make this work? And then I realized that I can literally just move my bed over like a foot and then we're fine. So, first thing, I did get bangs. I love them. I basically brought photos of Jane Birkin and Arden Rose to my hairdresser, and I was like, can you make this happen? And she was like, yes. And then she did, which I'm very thankful for. Today I just love them a lot. So if I keep looking at myself on the monitor, that's why. Today, we are going to be talking about bullet journals at length, really. We're going to be talking about sort of my history with my bullet journals and how, sort of how I used to use it and how I don't really use it now and why I feel like I grew out of it and how I'm working to reincorporate it back into my life. I didn't do that much bullet journaling in 2017, especially towards the end of 2017. And I have pretty much not bullet journaled at all in 2018. I've pretty much just done my monthly plan with me's and that's it. So I want to talk about that a bit and I want to explore that with you. So it's going to be a chatty one. Grab yourself a cup of tea. I have some green tea in my Powell's mug. This is my favorite mug because the color is, and the, I just love the lettering on it. It's very good. So, and it's the perfect size because it's not too big and it's not too small. It's just right, like Goldilocks. Can you tell I'm excited to talk to you again? It's been so long. I'm just watching I'm literally right now watching the leaves fall off my neighbor's tree because fall is here. Yeah, so get yourself a cup of tea, get cozy, and we're gonna hang out for a bit and talk about journals and stuff and growth and change and all those very exciting things. We're talking about bullet journals today. So I have, I've got both my bujos here. This is my old one. This is 2015 to 2016. And this is my new one. This is 2017 to 2018 / now. You can see that on both of them, I drew a little triangle. This one I drew a triangle on because I was just like, triangles are cool. I wasn't an internet hipster in 2008, but I was definitely there for it. So I drew a triangle because I thought triangles were cool. I pulled out my bullet journal here, and when I was hanging out with a friend of mine, and they said, oh, Delta. And I was like, what? And they said, Delta, the sign for change. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And so I liked the idea that this was a symbol of change and new beginnings and things. So I've pretty much decided that I'm gonna do that on the front of all of my bullet journals. At least ones that have, you know, blank covers. Just because I think it's neat and it also makes things feel consistent. So, if we take a look at my first bullet journal, I want to talk to y'all about sort of how my use of my bullet journal has changed, when I think I hit my sweet spot, and how that sweet spot basically transitioned into an unsustainable journaling practice, and that's why I don't use my bullet journal barely at all now. So when I first started using my bullet journal, you can see this in my first bullet journal flip through. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was writing down lists. I was using this sort of system that Ryder Carroll, who is the bullet journal creator, he's the maker of the whole system, sort of what he had dictated. I was also searching a lot on Tumblr for like different page ideas and all this stuff, and I even wrote a note here. I said, oddly frightened about adding more pages because I felt like every page had to have a theme because I was like, it's not exciting if it's just daily logs. but that's what they were. They were daily logs for a while. I took some lecture notes. I had like notes to self in here. I got very personal, if I'm being honest. Arguably too personal. I even took other lecture notes in here, which I shouldn't have done. But yeah, so then I started using it less as a daily log and more of like a literal journal. And then in around, I took a lot of acting workshop notes in here. Oh, this is a really good quote. Perfectionism is the satin-lined casket of creativity and originality. Also, looking at this, my lettering used to be so bad. And so it's exciting to see how far I've come in that. So I also tried to do the monthly log things, which ended up, I did not use them. And so I was like, this doesn't work for me. Which is one of the beauties of the bullet journal system, is that there are a lot of, there's a lot of foundational aspects to it. But the great thing is that you can pull from the system what works for you and what you think is going to be like useful to your growth. Speaking of, this book comes out today. It is Ryder Carroll's The Bullet Journal Method: Track the Past, Order the Present, Design the Future. And it's essentially the guide on how to do bullet journaling. And it's awesome. Ryder Carroll is a very good writer. He's a funny dude, and his advice is very helpful. And so it basically breaks down everything you could ever need to know about bullet journaling. I know sometimes I see comments from people that are very scared about starting bullet journaling, so I think this could be a really good place to start. But the great thing about it is, like, he even says in here that your notebook evolves as you do. It will conform to your ever-changing needs, which is very true, and what mine most certainly did. I went from being like super journally to realizing that maybe this wasn't the place for it, especially since I didn't think about this so much until 2016, which I'm going to get into later, but as I started sharing my bullet journal more and more on social media, I was like, got a little bit scared of writing journal-y entries in it, because I was like, this is going to be seen by people. But this was back in the days when I was only posting them to Tumblr, and Tumblr felt much more like an online diary, and so I was a lot less reserved about the stuff that I would write. And you can see here I started adding in way more washi tape and all these things. Again, in my 2016 bullet journal flip through, I talk definitely a lot more in depth about sort of my, in particular, this bullet journal, the kind of transformation. But I started adding a lot more color, started adding a lot of washi tape. I started adding like cutouts. I also loved using sticky notes. I also used it as a place to keep mementos from different events and things that I do with my friends. Sorry, I'm remembering Made in the AM. Oh, this is when I would also find like old photos at antique shops and stuff and put them in. So again, this is definitely a lot more, this was a journal entry about the end of 2015, moving into 2016. And then, yeah, wow. And so then I started getting a little bit more, so then I started getting pretty much only task lists. It's when I started doing weekly event deadlines, which were actually super helpful in terms of keeping track of homework assignments and stuff. And I would make sure to give myself like a whole sort of column for those, so I would have enough room to write for each day. And then my journaling things just became like tiny little notes, which I think is a lot better. And then in February, I tried to do a calendar. Didn't really work out. It was too small to serve me in any kind of real way. So I would have two separate lists. I would do like weekly tasks and then events and deadlines. I don't know. I need to re-examine how I want to do that. Lots of stickers, lots of washi tape. I also had water trackers. So I would say probably in 2016, around this point in 2016, also my March spread for 2016 is still one of my favorite things I've ever done. Around this time, I felt like this was March 2016, I felt like I had really hit a sweet spot with my bullet journal, because it was at a point where I was doing it every day, which was really cool, and I felt like it was really keeping me on track in terms of homework assignments, giving me sort of an overview of the week. Also, my handwriting used to be so small. Yeah, this is so cool to look back at. And then I would write little like dedicated journal entries. But the main thing was task management, and I tried out different layouts and all this type of stuff. Ooh, this is so fun to look back on. And I still loved doing my monthly spreads. And I realized that maybe the monthly log wasn't working for me, but I still wanted to do the tasks because it helped me realize, like, you know, what I had coming up. So that was very useful. And then I also got into the habit of, you know, writing little wholesome reminders for myself. Oh, it's such a pretty picture of Zane. Ryder Carroll calls these collections, but where I was like, this is just going to be a page of nice quotes. Didn't fill it out though, but the quotes on here are very pretty. And also I wanted to use it as a place to sort of practice my lettering. This is still such a great quote. Better keep yourself clean and bright, for you are the window through which you must see the world. Ralph Waldo Emerson, I think. I can't remember who said that, but it's a good one. More task lists and stuff. I am officially a college graduate. Woof. Yeah, again, see, this was good. I didn't write so much in May because I had just graduated, and so I think that I was just wrapped up in that feeling. June, I didn't really journal that much, and then I would write in July, because once I was out of school, I suddenly had a lot less stuff to keep track of. And so definitely at this point, it started to become a lot more journaly, and it would become, the tasks lists were super mundane and not high priority or high pressure at all. So it would be like, work out, get groceries, do all this stuff. Yeah, and so then I started using it a lot less consistently, and do no harm but take no shit. Ain't that just the way? And then December, and I like journaled about the holidays and stuff, and sort of feelings on the new year. And these are pictures from a New Year's party that I had with my friends. And I had quite a few pages left, and so I printed out this really beautiful comic about 2016 and sort of looking forward for 2017. Because 2016 was a really shitty year for the world, as was 2017. As is 2018. Wow, we're on a bad trend, folks. But yeah, so I would say probably around February, March, April of 2016 is where I really hit a sweet spot with my bullet journal, where I found the really good balance of making it aesthetic or making it visually pleasing, because I knew that it was going to be seen by folks, but I wasn't putting too much pressure on myself, and I also wasn't spending too much time on spreads. I was doing it in such a way where it was sustainable and consistent, and so I felt like I could enter in my write in my bullet journal every day and not feel just like wholly daunted and terrified by the idea. And then if we get into 2017, 2018, you will see this in my 2017 bullet journal flip through, but I barely journaled at all in 2017. Comparatively, at least. Like, I used maybe half the journal. And essentially all I did was, I didn't really do daily task lists. It was essentially it basically worked more as a visual journal, and me sort of using it as a place to write stuff, explore different artsy things. Lots of writing. This is when I read All for the Game, when I read that series for the first time. This was definitely more of a year of like, looking back, I can see that this is me using my bullet journal less as a place for task management or productivity management and stuff, and more as a visual growth place, because I mean 2017 was an incredibly tumultuous time in my life. You know, I was moving to Seattle, I had graduated college, all that good stuff. And yet there are some of the spreads in here that I really truly do love. But again, I was like, my August spread was only a day, and then I got into September, and the only reason I made a monthly spread was because I knew that I wanted to upload it to YouTube. And then I only had one day in one spread in September, and half of that page is dedicated to seeing Harry Styles in concert, which is fine. Me categorizing my launch day of my my online shop and stuff. I am, by the way, making a video about that, so keep your eyes peeled. But yeah, so 2017, I was definitely not consistent in any type of way. I wasn't using my bullet journal in any kind of productive way, no way to track growth with my business, just because frankly I was so busy packing orders and restocking stickers that I basically didn't have time for anything else. I did write a little in retrospect thing for my year. We're tired, but we're trying. And then 2018, I have done, let's see, I didn't start bullet journaling until March, which is one thing. This is the entirety of how much I've journaled in 2018. So, you can tell that I've been having a bit of a rough go of it. Because the main thing was, there was actually a comment on my 2017 bullet journal flip through, which I thought was very insightful, because the person said, your 2016 bullet journal flip through was especially like awesome and really eye-catching because it was clear that it was a true documentation of someone's life as it happened, which is what made it so like charming and cool to look at and cool to watch. Whereas my 2017 bullet journal flip through, they felt that like it was very pretty, but it was almost too perfect, because they could feel from looking at it that it had been curated and made with the idea that people would, with the idea that it would eventually be seen in mind, which is not how, and because of that, it took away from the authenticity of it. And it was frankly something I had never thought about before, and so I'm very thankful to that person for commenting that. And I realized, I was like, oh shit, that's probably why I haven't been bullet journaling as much, because I knew that I would post my spreads to Instagram, and so there was sort of, I don't think it was a conscious thing, but it was definitely a sort of subconscious worry, where it was like, this has to look good on your feed. Again, that wasn't a conscious thing that I thought about when I was making my spreads, but I think that I was a lot more conscious of making sure things looked good and balanced and put together and stuff. And so now moving forward, especially especially leafing through this, because the great thing about this is that whether or not you are a newbie to bullet journaling or you've been at it for a while, it's very useful because you can sort of leaf through and figure out what you need. And so for me, like, the mental inventory was a thing where you just kind of a brain dump, which is what apparently your monthly task list should sort of work as, which I had no idea. And he also writes about, you know, using the future log, using the different collections, migration, daily logs, custom logs, if you have, you know, you're managing projects or anything like that. So it's essentially just a really detailed overlook of how the bullet journal system works. And so it's been really helpful for me, because I'm like, yes, at the end of the day, the bullet journal is meant to facilitate growth, and it's supposed to be super sustainable and very efficient. Which is not to say that I'm going to lose all the artistry in my bullet journal, because I love doing that stuff. I love adding stickers and pictures and formatting it and drawing cute banners and stuff. For the past couple times that I've written in my bullet journal, I've tried to come at it with a sense of not worrying so much about the formatting, about the final outlook, but just kind of getting down my thoughts in a way that is pleasing for me to look at, but it's also, I get the information that I need from it. And so I used it as, when I sort of redesigned my website, I used it as a task manager for that, figuring out what I needed to do. I've been using it as a sort of business plan brainstorm space, which has been really cool. Because the main reason why, also, you know, it is towards the end of the year and stuff. So, I won't be doing I won't be doing a 2018 bullet journal flip through because I don't really have one to show you. So I'll have to figure out what to do instead. But I feel like I'm in a place right now where I really want to grow my business and expand my brand and expand my product range and hone into the type of different artwork I want to do. And I essentially have so many ideas in my brain and so many projects that I want to work on and all these different things that I have to put them somewhere. And as wonderful as Evernote is and Google Docs, I have always been more of an analog person. And I think writer Carroll also writes this in the book. He was like, apps and everything are great, but the thing is that when you sit down to physically write something with pen and paper, it forces your mind to slow down and sort of be like, okay, what's happening? What's the tea? What's going on? And it forces you to sort of take your time. I just got the last 5 years in my head. Take your time. Have I mentioned today how lucky I am to be in love with you? Oh, now I just want to listen to that musical again. I digress. Sorry. Yes. So because I have so much growth and stuff in mind for this winter and for the next upcoming months, I want to revisit my bullet journal and use it now again as a tracker for growth and progress and project management and project planning and all that type of stuff. There are parts of the system that I don't think really serve me. I know that the index is like really handy, but I'm not really interested in it, TBH. But I do want to try out the monthly logs again, and I want to try out the monthly task lists and use that as a sort of mental inventory moment where I make to sort of keep me on track and to keep me accountable. The main thing is accountability. That has by far been my biggest struggle in being self-employed, is that I've realized that I'm kind of a shitty boss. And so keeping myself accountable and keeping myself on schedule has proven very difficult. So hopefully sort of redesigning my bullet journal system, kind of getting back to basics and starting over again. I'm really hoping that that'll help me, that will expedite my personal and professional growth. And I'm going to try and be as consistent with it as possible between now and the end of the year. Even over the course of the next week, I'm going to try it out and see how it works for me. And we'll talk about it in my November plan with me. And we'll see sort of how it's been going. But I'm really excited. I was just in a play, and towards the end of the play, I was definitely getting a little bit, ooh, look at this lighting. Look at this dappled lighting coming through my shades. The one thing about weather in Seattle is it is so unpredictable. I never know if it's going to be sunny or cloudy or what the gods have in store. Self-employment. Yeah, so the hardest thing about self-employment is keeping myself accountable and sticking to my own deadlines and sort of taking myself seriously as an artist and as a creative and as a creative professional. And so I'm hoping that maybe by reinvesting myself into my bullet journal system, it'll help keep me accountable. I also have started doing this, something that I want to also invest more time in is visual journaling, which is a journal that will never see the light of day on any social media, which means that which means that it's literally no pressure. And so it's a place where I document my day-to-day, and then I also draw things for my day-to-day just to get into the habit of drawing mundane things. And so what I was thinking of doing is that using the sort of notes system in my bullet journal and kind of, cataloging tiny little happenings, and then at the end of the day, revisiting them from my bullet journal and then expanding on them in my visual journal and using that as my kind of quiet wind down reflection time. Because writer Carroll also talks about a daily reflection where you reflect in the morning and you reflect in the evening, and you use your evening reflection as a sort of wind down time. And so I'm going to put my own spin on that. But this book has been very exciting to leaf through, and it's got me all jazzed up, and I'm excited to see sort of how my bullet journal shifts artistically as well, because I think that I'm probably going to move a little bit away from collage stuff and more into how I used to do it in 2016 during the sweet spot time, where it was mostly just a lot of washi tape and colored pens, because it will also keep my bullet journal from being bulky as all hell, and it's also just a lot quicker because then I don't have to spend time, because then frankly I don't have to spend time leafing through all the printed out photos that I have sitting in the back of my bullet journal, and I can just sort of, it's a little bit more slapdash and therefore takes less time and therefore more sustainable, and I can hopefully do it every day. And it also means hopefully that I will start visually doing my visual journal every day again, because that's very fun. I also am just going through a really sort of kind of amazing time in my life right now that I really want to catalog and keep track of. Like, you saw me looking back through my bullet journal from 2015 and 2016. It's a whole little catalog of memories and feelings. And it's cool because just looking at a page, I can immediately know how I felt while I was working on it. I'm excited to get back into it. I'm excited for my own personal bullet journal renaissance. And I'm going to keep using this moleskin through the end of the year. But I'm definitely probably going to start in a new one come the new year. I do have they sent me an advance copy of this so that I was able to leaf through it over the next, so I was able to read through it and talk to you guys about it. They also sent me an official like bullet journal TM bullet journal, and it's by Lecterm. It's 1917. It has like the future log of the index already sort of formatted in there for you, which is really dope. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to use it because I have some, I don't think I'm going to use it this year, maybe next year, but I have these beautiful Archer and Olive dot grid notebooks that have super thick paper, and so I think I might want to try to use those, especially if I'm going to be using more ink and stuff, because I kind of want to draw more in my bullet journal. So I'm going to be using more ink and stuff. I think it'll be cooler to have those thicker pages to work on, because they take paint very well. They're like 230 GSM or something, I think. And also the notebooks themselves are beautiful. So I will probably end up using one of those. Part of me wants to just buy another black moleskin so that it's like aesthetically consistent, but that's money I don't need to spend. So yeah, that's kind of the long and short of it, folks. That's kind of where I've been, where I'm at, where I'm hoping to go. I also just want to say that, again, your bullet journal ultimately is meant to serve you, and it's meant to be helpful for you, but it's meant to serve you, and it's meant to be helpful for you, and it's meant to, facilitate growth, and creativity and inspiration and all these different types of things. And it should also be sustainable, and it should be built in such a way that you are able to use it every day without being overwhelmed or daunted by it. I would say that if you're getting maybe really into sort of the visual structure of things, maybe keep a visual journal and a bullet journal, which is what I'm gonna do. But also, do what you want. Don't listen to me. If you are the master of your own world, and just lean into the systems and lean into the things that serve you and help you in whatever way you need them to. That's the cool thing about like productivity systems and stuff like this, is that you can take bits and bobs from whatever ones work for you and make them dope as hell. Like I know that I'm going to definitely be using my bullet journal in tandem with my Google Calendar, because if I don't have my bullet journal with me, I can just put it in on my Google Calendar, and then at the beginning of every day or the beginning of every month, I can look at my Google Calendar and add in those dates into my monthly log, because I've recently found out the wonders of Google Calendar, and my boyfriend is a bit of a Google fanboy, and he's making me into a bit of a Google fangirl, which is fine. I hope that was helpful. That was fun. That was a little bit of a walk down memory lane. I hope that this has reminded you that no one's perfect, and especially not me. And I have a lot of my own shit that I'm dealing with, and I'm working through it in whatever way I can. I'm in the midst of kind of a sort of a bit of a big personal glow up transformation thing right now, which is why I think I've been so MIA kind of across all my platforms. Also, I'm looking forward to getting back into my bullet journal because I'm hoping that by using it and by having a proper content management system, I'll be able to upload consistently on YouTube. Can you imagine what a dream world that would be? We'll see how that works. Regardless, you will see me with a November plan with me. Cool. Oh, I'm so excited. Also, it's so nice and chilly. Also, do you like my sweater? It has cats on it. Okay, my tea is cold now, so I'm gonna go heat this up in the microwave. I know that's sacrilegious, but it's very good tea and I don't want it to go to waste. So I'm gonna heat up my tea and then gonna edit this video and get her on up. And then it's so nice out, so I'm probably gonna go walk and get myself a latte. Quick shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much for being amazing and lovely and so patient with me. You are wonderful and incredible, and I love you so much. So thank you to my patrons. Thank you to you for watching this. I'm so thankful for you. I'm grateful that you're here. Thanks for sticking around, and I love you a lot. I hope you're well. Wishing you the best on whatever it is that you're working on, and I will talk to you soon. Stay brilliant. Bye!